Over 4,000 years ago, Pharaoh Khafre built a pyramid that still baffles scientists. Inside, a flawless granite sarcophagus. But no body. Hidden chambers remain sealed, tunnels stretch beneath the Sphinx, and cosmic alignments hint at secrets our understanding. Did Khafre create a tomb? Or a trap? Could he have been hiding something so dangerous that even today, we aren't ready to see it? The truth has terrified archaeologists for centuries. Let's discover the empty tomb mystery. When the ancient burial chamber of Pharaoh Khafre was first opened in the 1800s, the world expected to find the resting place of a king who ruled Egypt over 4,000 years ago. Instead, what the archaeologists found was shocking: a flawless granite sarcophagus, still sealed, but completely empty. There were no treasures, no inscriptions, no trace of a mummy. Nothing. This silence has haunted experts for more than a century. Why would the son of Khufu, builder of the Great Pyramid, leave behind a perfect tomb with no body? Was it looted, or was it never meant to hold him at all? And most disturbing of all, what if Khafre was not planning for eternal rest, but for eternal containment? The story begins in the early 19th century, when explorers and scholars were first cutting their way into the pyramids with crude tools and little understanding of the dangers. In Khafre's pyramid, which towers almost 470 feet high and is made of over 2 million stone blocks, the expectation was simple: if Khufu's Great Pyramid was the grandest, then Khafre's should contain treasures to rival it. Instead, as they forced open the sealed granite sarcophagus deep inside the structure, they were greeted with a sight that must have drained the blood from their faces. The coffin was immaculate, carved from a single block of granite, but there was no mummy, no funerary equipment, not even dust that might suggest something had once been there. The chamber itself was stark, with none of the inscriptions or elaborate decorations we associate with later Egyptian tombs. It was as if the pyramid had been built with the sole purpose of housing this one pristine box, and then left intentionally empty. Immediately, arguments began to swirl. The most conventional explanation was tomb robbing. Egypt's tombs, even those deep in the Valley of the Kings, were almost universally stripped bare within centuries of their construction. If robbers had broken in, however, why leave the sarcophagus sealed and undisturbed? Why not smash it open, as they had done in other pyramids, searching for hidden treasures or jewels buried with the pharaoh? The sarcophagus was intact, its lid perfectly in place, as though it had never been touched since the day it was sealed. Some experts claimed this was proof that the pyramid had been broken into, the body removed, and then resealed to conceal the theft. But others were not convinced. The evidence did not fit neatly into the usual pattern. That leads to a second, more unsettling idea. What if Khafre's body had never been buried there in the first place? Could it be that the entire pyramid was not a tomb at all, but something else entirely? Modern Egyptologists often hesitate to raise this possibility too loudly, because it disrupts long-accepted assumptions about the purpose of the pyramids. Yet the absence of a body in Khafre's case is undeniable. Unlike other pharaohs whose mummies have been recovered from different burial sites, Khafre himself is missing from the historical record. His name appears in statues and temple complexes, his reign is documented in inscriptions, but his remains are nowhere to be found. That absence has become a mystery that refuses to fade. The intrigue deepened dramatically in 2023 when a team of scientists used a technique called muon tomography, a form of cosmic ray scanning, to peer inside the stone layers of Khafre's pyramid. Muons are tiny particles created when cosmic rays from space hit the Earth's atmosphere, and they pass through solid materials at predictable rates. By measuring how many muons pass through different parts of the pyramid, scientists can create an image of its internal structure without drilling or damaging it. What they found was extraordinary. Deep within the pyramid, separate from the main burial chamber, lay a hidden cavity, a chamber that has been sealed and untouched for 4,500 years. For archaeologists, this revelation was electrifying. If the main sarcophagus is empty, then what could lie in a hidden room that has never been opened since antiquity? Could it hold Khafre's real body? Could it contain objects or texts so sacred they were locked away from human eyes? Or, more unsettling still, was something placed there not for preservation, but for protection, to keep it sealed away from the living world? Perhaps the pyramid functioned as a safeguard, a structure designed to imprison knowledge, objects, or even forces that the ancient Egyptians themselves believed were too dangerous to release. The chilling part is that no one knows for sure. The hidden chamber remains sealed. Archaeologists are cautious, knowing that opening it risks collapse or irreversible damage to the pyramid. But the longer it stays closed, the more speculation grows. Could this be the real burial place of Khafre, finally waiting to be revealed after thousands of years? Or has it remained sealed for so long because the ancients intended it never to be disturbed? When the silence of an empty sarcophagus is followed by the discovery of a hidden void, the implications are hard to dismiss. Khafre's pyramid does not behave like a tomb. It behaves like a container. And if that is true, then the question that should terrify us is simple. What, exactly, is still locked inside? Building the impossible. Recent analysis of Khafre's pyramid has left experts stunned, because the deeper scientists look at its structure, the less sense it makes. What has been uncovered is not simply the work of clever ancient builders using primitive tools, but something that defies all reasonable explanation. The pyramid appears to be engineered with levels of precision that even today's construction technology would find difficult to achieve, and the implications are groundbreaking. How could a society that existed over 4,000 years ago, without steel, without modern cranes, and without digital instruments, create a monument that can align itself with the heavens and survive earthquakes, weathering, and erosion almost unchanged? And most unsettling of all, if they were capable of such extraordinary feats, what knowledge have we lost that allowed them to build in ways we still struggle to understand? Khafre's pyramid, built around the middle of the 3rd millennium BCE, is made of more than 2 million limestone blocks, each cut, shaped, and placed with astonishing accuracy. Some of these blocks weigh more than 15 tons, yet they are fitted so closely together that in many areas even the blade of a knife cannot be slid between them. What is especially remarkable is that this fitting was achieved without the use of mortar. In most modern buildings, mortar, a type of binding cement, fills gaps and holds bricks or stones together. But here, the stones themselves are so precisely shaped that gravity and friction alone keep them in place, creating joints that have survived thousands of years. This is not only unusual for ancient architecture, it is one of the reasons why the pyramid has outlasted countless other monuments from later eras. Even more astonishing is the pyramid's alignment. When surveyed by modern instruments, Khafre's pyramid, like that of his father Khufu, is oriented almost perfectly to true north. The difference is within a fraction of a degree, so small that most modern architects would not expect to achieve it without laser-guided equipment. Yet the Egyptians accomplished this with tools no more advanced than plumb lines, sighting rods, and the stars above them. Some researchers argue that by tracking the rising and setting points of certain stars, such as those in the constellation Ursa Major, the builders could establish a precise cardinal direction. However, the accuracy of Khafre's pyramid remains baffling because even minor observational errors should have produced a noticeable deviation. Instead, it stands aligned in a way that challenges our assumptions about ancient surveying techniques. Inside the pyramid, the mysteries continue. The sarcophagus, carved from granite rather than limestone, is one of the most puzzling objects of all. Granite is an extremely hard stone, much more difficult to shape than limestone, and it cannot be cut cleanly with copper chisels, which were the standard tools of the time. Yet Khafre's sarcophagus is polished to an almost mirror-like finish, its edges straight and smooth as if machined. When examined under magnification, the surfaces reveal no irregularity that would suggest hammering or chiseling. Instead, they resemble the finish produced by rotary cutting tools that should not have existed in the Bronze Age. Could this mean the ancient Egyptians had access to a lost technology, perhaps only available for a brief moment in history before disappearing without a trace? The idea of lost technology gains support from unusual discoveries in quarries associated with Khafre's reign. Archaeologists have found fragments of bronze tools that were sharper and harder than what is normally associated with the Old Kingdom period. These tools seem to have been used specifically for cutting hard stone like granite, yet after Khafre's rule, they vanish from the archaeological record. There is no evidence that later dynasties used them, nor any explanation for why such advanced methods would suddenly disappear. This raises the uncomfortable possibility that Khafre's reign witnessed a fleeting period of innovation or access to techniques that were deliberately hidden or destroyed. Moving the enormous blocks is another mystery. Traditional theories suggest that the builders used long earthen ramps to drag stones on wooden sledges. However, the sheer volume of material required to build such ramps would have been greater than the pyramid itself, and no physical evidence of them survives. More recently, some researchers have proposed that water was used to reduce friction, wetting the sand to create a slicker surface for dragging the sledges. Others speculate that sections of the construction may have relied on controlled flooding, turning the plateau into a temporary harbor where massive stones could be floated closer to the building site. This theory is controversial, but it attempts to address the logistical challenge of transporting millions of blocks across desert terrain without wheels or iron tools. Still, no single explanation accounts for all aspects of the pyramid's construction, leaving open the possibility that methods far more sophisticated than we imagine were involved.